Okay, what's up? So I was watching some progressive videos today, and one of them I forgot the name of it already. It's the one with David Dole. He talked about how this video in particular is going viral. Maybe not necessarily this specific video, um, which was uploaded by the Mills series. I don't know who that is, but um, it's been going viral on Twitter and stuff like that. The clips because of the Israeli-Palestinian conflict most recently, the new spat of um, violence that has occurred as a response to basically the Israeli government forcing Palestinian people who lived there for who knows how long, X number of generations. They've already been living there. They have every right to live there. And they are forcing them out of their homes. And people have been saying that this is a form of ethnic cleansing, and I absolutely agree. But there are some critiques about this video that I want to make, in particular in regards to some of the stuff that Michael Brooks says. So I'm going to be giving like kind of a different take. And I want to make it clear that I really like Michael Brooks. I respect him a lot. Um, Rest in peace. He died, I think, last year. Anyway, let's watch.
So my first question, it says on your Twitter that you're Jewish. Am I getting this right?
No.
Is it the right Twitter?
So he's making a joke. It turns out he actually is Jewish. I didn't know that he was Jewish for the longest time because he does not mix politics and his religion.
My Twitter bio it says I'm Jewish.
At least he doesn't do it often. I think it's impossible not to be influenced by your religion. But anyway, let's watch more.
No, but like in your tweets. I don't want to be wrong.
I have Jewish background. I'm just
Okay.
trying to think of.
Okay. So as
It's interesting how he doesn't want to admit that he's Jewish. He can't like say that he is. Yeah, I am Jewish. He has Jewish background, and I don't really like that. Like because then it like implies that like Jewishness is a race or ethnicity, and I don't like that idea. Like I have critiques about Jewish being an ethnicity. But anyway, let's move on.
someone with a Jewish background,
Yes.
how do you feel about Bernie's plan for Israel, especially as someone concerned with foreign policy?
I love it. It's an absolutely necessary. My Jewish values teach me to oppose apartheid.
Okay, I would love to know what about Judaism uh, influences him to oppose apartheid because honestly, Judaism is not a egalitarian religion. It actually espouses at the core of Judaism that Jews are God's chosen people. It absolutely does. And like the sanitization of Judaism, look, I mean, like there is a lot of sensitivity about Jewishness and Judaism because of the Holocaust, because millions of Jews, over 6 million Jews, were murdered in the Holocaust. But that doesn't mean that the religion is good. It's not. It's actually really abhorrent. It's really, really abhorrent. At the core of Judaism is the racist, racial supremacist belief that Jews are God's chosen people. What do you think that means? It means that they think they're better than everyone else. It means that they think they're superior to other people. And also, it gives guidelines on how Jews can enslave other people. Like, for example, in Exodus 20 and 21, which literally sanctions slavery and gives guidelines to Jews on how they can enslave both non Jews and Jews as well. So, both. So, I mean, like, when he says that his religion teaches him to oppose apartheid, that's complete BS. That's contradicted by Exodus 20 and 21. Okay, that is nonsense.
Okay. Could you elaborate, please?
I mean, there really isn't that much to elaborate on. I mean, it. Have
I love it when people do this. I mean, it's he says, there's not much to elaborate on, but then he proceeds to elaborate on it. But I mean, that's okay. I do that myself. It's just kind of like a cute thing to do.
has anybody ever been not only to Israel but also to the? Have you been to? But have you been to the West Bank? Have you been to Gaza? You went to Gaza. Oh, okay, but not to Gaza. Well, you no, I know people who've gone to Gaza. You could definitely go to Gaza. Um, so for me, my politics are built on a base of economic justice and actually really like anti-racism. As in some ways,
I don't see how Judaism influences economic justice and anti-racism. It is horribly racist for the reasons I already delineated. How can you have economic justice or equality when you sanction slavery? That is bullshit.
is distinct from some of this sort of woke stuff in a way. But when I was already, look, I grew up, I was pretty connected to left politics, so I always knew growing up about the travesty that was the human rights situation there. And I knew that people I admired, like Nelson Mandela, said, South Africa is going to not be properly free until the Palestinians are free. In 2006, I believe, I read a piece by a guy named Tony Judt in the New York Review of Books, who was a really important Jewish scholar. And he just said, like, the argument was that, like, literally this is childish. Like, the idea that you have an ethno-state or a religious state, if you're committed to any type of broad-based social, economic equity and civil society, it doesn't work. No matter how justified, right? Of course there's justification because of Jewish history for Israel.
Okay, that's where I disagree. So, like, he was saying a lot of stuff I agreed with. I agreed that having ethno states is bad, having religious states is bad. I agree with that 100%, and that's why um, the state of Israel, as a Jewish state, is necessarily racist because it's an ethno state. Irrespective of whether Jewishness is an ethnicity or not. We're talking semantics at this point. There isn't a better word to describe what this is. We could call it a religious state if we want. That is bad. Like any kind of theocracy in general is bad. But like in here, it's not so much as a theocracy. It's this false idea of a ethnicity, Jewishness being an ethnicity, and then therefore Jewish people control this country. And what makes it even more pernicious is the fact they did it in modern times. So we have recorded history of it. There's no ambiguity about it. They took it from people who are already living here, and then they try to assert Jewish people as the dominant superior race. They don't call it a race though. They call it an ethnicity. Um, but it's not just that. It's not just Jewish supremacy. It's also white supremacy. So to them, to Zionists, and to these people, is that white, in order to be Jewish, you have to be white. Like they don't see other races as truly Jewish. Like they don't see black people as truly Jewish, even if they are. And there are black Jews and Indian Jews. Do you think they see Indian Jews as real Jews? Of course not. Of course not. They see white people as true Jews, even though the ancient Israelites were brown. The ancient Israelites were brown. They were not white. But yet these people from Europe are then coming to the Middle East and then saying, "Oh no, this land belongs to us." That's bullshit. No, you're from fucking Europe. Okay, the reason why, like, the irony is that Israel actually supports anti-Jewishness abroad because they want Jews abroad to feel unwelcome, so that they'll come to Israel because they want to grow their population as much as possible. They want to create an artificial Jewish state. Now, what Michael Brooks is saying here, that there is historical justification for Jews to own Israel, or whatever the fuck he's saying. Holy shit. All right, holy shit. No, 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 that is so wrong because he's again equivocating. He's doing the same implied equivocating that Zionists do, which is equivocating Jewishness with a race of people. Okay, they don't say race of people, they say ethnicity, but in the context that they're using it and are implying it, it means the same thing. They're trying to equivocate Jewishness with a group of people. Um, that has some kind of shared genetic ancestry, and that is horseshit. Okay, how can Jewishness, how can Judaism be an ethnicity if there's black Jews and Indian Jews? Now, the only way to reconcile that is just to say they're not real Jews, which a lot of them don't believe they are. Um, but they don't usually say that because they know that's gonna make them look racist. And I would say it would make them look anti-Jewish as well. You're denying someone's religion just because of their race. The fuck is the matter with you? Um, so what they try to do is they try to imply that white people are the true descendants of the ancient Israelites. There is zero evidence supporting this. The only evidence they have is a mutation on on the Y allele that they have in common with Middle Eastern people. That is it. That is the only commonality they have. But then using that logic, Arab people living in the Middle East have equal claim to Israel as they do. The fact of the matter is there's zero evidence that white Jews are descended from ancient Israelites. There's none. Not one single speck of evidence of that. The ancient Israelites more than likely were similar to the ancient Egyptians in that they were just a race of people that eventually died out. But somehow their religion persisted beyond their people, probably through conversions or influencing other people. That happens all the time. Um, and unlike the ancient Egyptians and their religion, ancient Egyptian religion died out, but Judaism persisted, although in a very small capacity. That's the thing a lot of people forget is that their religion is very, very tiny compared to other major religions.
There's justification.
So I just want to reiterate and kind of just say this again. The Jewish people that he's trying to say, who are the Jewish people? The white Jewish people? White Jewish people have zero claim to Palestine. They have zero claim to Palestine. They have zero claim to what they call Israel. So Michael Brooks is wrong on this. All you have is a book, your Talmud or your whatever you call it, that asserts that Jewish people will retake Jerusalem and all this other stuff. And then you had a whole bunch of people who are religious fanatics who worked to make that happen. That's no different than me making a new religion and writing in a book saying one day black people are going to take over America. It's no different than that, right? It's not a prophecy from God. It's nothing. God doesn't exist. That's bullshit fairy tale shit. All right. So they have zero claim to it. There were people living there. And yes, there were Jews living in Jerusalem before Israel ever existed. Israel had these white people who came in and took over the country had zero claim to it. All right. They took it because they had the assistance of Western powers, of the British and the UN, who then said, okay, fine, we'll let you have it after the Holocaust, even though Palestine had nothing to do with the Holocaust. In a just world, the Jewish people would have been given uh, a big chunk of Germany. That's what they deserve because Germany was the one responsible for the Holocaust. And Zionists always use the Holocaust as justification for the creation of Israel, even though Palestine had nothing to do with the Holocaust. They constantly use that as justification for reparations. And then the same people who justified the state of Israel through reparations deny reparations to black people. Okay?
For Kurdistan because of Kurdish reality. There's justification for Pakistan. It's notable that Israel and Pakistan are both disasters. Israel not in the sense of, look, if you're a European Jewish background, you have a nice life there. If you're not, you are, even inside 67 borders, not a fully equal citizen. And the situation in the West Bank is, it is literally Jim Crow-like. And Gaza is, it's just an atrocity. So that's not something that anybody could reasonably ask me to support. And I understand, there's some actions from some Palestinian groups that, we can condemn. In fact, those have not even really been in any way seriously in play since like 2003. And when we talk about, look, and the apartheid word specifically is both used by people who were crucial in ending apartheid in South Africa, like Desmond Tutu or Ronnie Kasrils, who served as intelligence minister under Mbeki, who I've interviewed. And the other main people who use the apartheid word are Ehud Olmert and Ehud Barak. So it is what it is. And I don't support second-class citizenship and occupation and sieges.
Okay, and I agree with everything he just said. I agree with all of that. The problem is that all that he's saying, it comes into conflict with his religion. It is directly contradicted by his religion. So people often give a pass to Judaism for its link with Zionism. Of course, Zionism is linked to Judaism. Okay, you don't have Zionism without Judaism. So people need to critique the religion too, not just the state of Israel. Because the state of Israel wouldn't exist if it weren't for Judaism validating that claim, which he, by the way, does. He validates it too. And it comes from their shitty religion, their horrible, awful, racist religion that sanctions slavery. I agree with all his politics, but he doesn't apply his critique, that same logical critique, to his religion, which is clearly in contradiction with the things that he's saying here, which validates Zionism.
For anybody, no matter who they are.
Are you not concerned about the binary between either condemning Israel entirely, being like also a stance that a lot of like very strong and notorious anti-Semitic people agree with, versus like, you know, seeing this as more of a complex issue where it is wrong?
Okay, so I just want to jump in real quick. And in fact, this is the last thing I'm going to be saying about this video. Um, so she's doing the whole, if you criticize Israel or you criticize the creation of Israel, then you're quote unquote anti Semitic. And the word anti Semitism, I critiqued this in that video where I lambasted Ali is crying, who's just an ignoramus who doesn't know anything about these issues. Um, that word has Zionist origins by a racist, by a frigging racist Austrian Jew who believed that Palestine belongs to Austrian Jews. All right? That's where that word comes from, and they're trying to equivocate, um, any kind of criticism of Israel with quote unquote anti-Semitism, which is a misnomer because they're not Semitic people. Michael Brooks is Jewish. He's not a Semitic person, and I'm willing to bet like this person who's asking this question, she's probably Jewish. Uh, I got news for you. She's not Semitic either. The vast majority of modern Jews are not Semitic people. Okay, you know who is Semitic? Arab people. So Arabs living in Palestine, they are actually Semitic people. The white people living in Israel, they're not Semitic. They're not Semitic. I mean, occasionally you might find like some darker skinned Jews. I've seen them before, of course. Some of them are Semitic. Lots of black people are Semitic people. Um, but white people are most certainly not Semitic. Now, she's trying to say just because if you disagree with the creation of Israel entirely, that makes you anti-Semitic. No, that's bullshit. That is literally a case of conquest. They went in with guns, tanks, and other military equipment to kill people and take that land by force. So if you disagree with that violent, intrusive, invasive action of a land grab, then that makes you anti Semitic. This is literally a case of just because you disagree with me doesn't make me a racist or anti Semitic. They label anyone who disagrees with them as anti Semitic because they use that as a shield to defend themselves because they don't have logical arguments to defend themselves with. There is nothing wrong with disagreeing with the violent conquest of Palestine for white people. Okay? Because look who's in charge in Israel. You think it's brown people? No, it's all white people. All the people in government, they're all white. There might be a few exceptions here and there, but not to the degree that matters. Okay? Look at who's Netanyahu? Who's that Yahoo guy? Yeah, he's white. He actually originally comes from Poland of all places. But the dude is the biggest fucking racist on the planet. And we've seen so much evidence of horrific widespread racism going on among the whites living in Israel. All right. Now, Michael Brooks, then does this famous, it's not a complex issue thing. And I actually don't have any real criticism beyond this. I recommend you check out the full video. But I felt like this, Michael Brooks, he's a great guy. He's a fantastic progressive. And when he died, I was not only sad, but I was also angry because he was such a brilliant mind that had so much to teach, so much to teach. And he's actually my age. He's like maybe a year younger than me, and he had so much to teach people. And uh, he died before he could even like scratch the surface of what he could teach and what he could learn himself. I would have loved to teach him about how bad his religion is and maybe turn him into an atheist. Like I would have loved to do that. I want everyone. I want all Jews, not just Jews, but everyone to become atheists because religion is the source of horrificness throughout human history. All right. It is not a source of morality. Evidently, Judaism sanctions slavery. It espouses racial superiority. We need to get rid of this garbage ASAP because we can't move forward as a civilization while we still believe in these fairy tale superstitious beliefs. It's nonsense. We got to get rid of it. And we got to get rid of racism, and that means racism against anyone, whether it's racism against Jews, racism against Arabs, racism against black people. We need to fight against that. We need to be anti religion and anti racism. That's all I gotta say, dudes. See you later.